Welcome to Happy Hour Holidays, where we cheers to life stories, entrepreneurship, and business. I fucked up on that one. But anyways, I'm your host every single week, Manny Fresh. We got the resume, Sean Fabre. And in studio today, we got motivational speaker, author, Marine veteran. We got a man that does everything. Serial entrepreneur, Alex Delgado. Thank you so much for coming in, man.
Hey, thanks
Love the energy, man. And, I could see that you're a guy that lifts people up. And that's what we need in this world, especially for people that are trying to maybe make that move to actually see the best of themselves, which is very tough because you kind of get into a comfortable zone and you live life and then you forget, man, I can actually do more than what I'm doing today.
Yeah, not only that, but you also mentioned off air that you've started multiple businesses. Not all of them succeeded. And that's something that most people will get down on themselves and then quit trying, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what kept you going?
I think for me, there's this element of really want to aspire to do more. And I feel like it's okay to ask for abundance if you have good intent, right? And so for me, every time I've started it and had this wacky idea, if it didn't work out, the interesting part is that it always kind of opened the door to the next idea. And it's kind of always built off of the previous one with lessons learned so that you don't make the same mistake twice.
Right? I'm wondering, what was your first business you ever started?
I mean, I've done everything. I started a hip hop clothing store down in Miami, which was the worst idea ever. But again, like everything, I look at it and I learn. And the funny thing is the main kind of catalyst for the location was the barbershop. It was next door to the barbershop where Pitbull takes his kids at the time. Yeah. Right. And I knew everybody from the neighborhood. Everybody would go there. So I'm thinking, all right, yeah, we're going to sell hip hop clothes, sneakers. You know, we sold spray paint. So we had all the graffiti artists in Miami coming and buying cans from us. And then, go figure I was competing with the guy who's also selling stolen clothes in the back of his trunk. Yeah. so that business was destined to fail. But from that business, right, one of the ideas we had in there was having the TV screens with ads. And that was way before that was more common than what you see today.
Like in the back of the truck beds?
No, the advertising on the screens of your TVs inside the store.
The shop.
Yeah. And so from that, I said, look, I never want to be in retail because, in clothing, things go out of style. You need to figure out the right sizing. Yeah. I mean, it was tricky, right? It was a very difficult business. Great experience, but it was definitely hard to sustain. And I said, I want to offer a service because the service, there's some overhead up front, obviously, but you're not going to have that constant revolving door. So I said, I want to get into advertising, but I don't know exactly what form of advertising I'm wanting into. And so at one point when I was just really trying to figure out what was next, I saw this long, it was a 36-foot pontoon boat out in Illinois. So up to go in the river of Chicago. And I was like, oh man, I live in Miami. And mind you, I was an active duty Marine stationed in Miami trying to do a side hustle, right? So that's not very common. You don't hear that for a lot of military people. And so I got this idea of, man, I live in Miami. We're the best beaches in the world. I got to do something advertising on the water. Then that led me to find these huge inflatable billboards that were a nightmare, but I got some huge clients. Man, we had Miller Coors, I had Red Bull, I had Chase Bank.
Where'd you put them?
We had them out on the beach. We had these things that you would tow.
Floating in the ocean.
Yeah, floating in the ocean, towing it up and down in my dad's boat. I mean, it was a crazy shit. So long story short is eventually that boat that inspired that idea, that guy who made that boat sold it to some guy here in Tampa. The guy in Tampa couldn't get the business to work, and I bought that boat off him. So full circle, I bought that boat and I had it going up and down Miami forever. It was a great business. We advertised all the nightclubs in Miami, restaurants, you name it.
Were you the one driving the boat? Or?
No, my dad was a skipper.
Yeah,
my dad was a skipper. And we had casinos from Las Vegas. I mean, you name it. Ultra Music Festival. We had everything going on during that time. And eventually, like anything, right, my business became obsolete when they had the digital boats going out. And you see those even here in Clearwater Beach and stuff like that. So,
because are the single engine planes that they fly with the banners? I mean,
that was my arch nemesis.
That was your arch nemesis.
Yeah. So actually, the funny thing is
you still see those out.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a good business. You have it's an antiquated type of business, but you have eyeballs looking at your product.
But right? I feel like visibility wise, the boat is definitely easier to see. Right?
Yeah, you have definitely better line of sight, and it's a little more modern, and it looks cool, right? And we would get emails from people that would be like, "Oh, you ruined our vacation with this eyesore." I'm like, "Oh,
my
sorry."
God.
I'm like, "But you looked at it, so it worked out."
Did you have like hot women on there just dancing?
No, because it was far. It was far
Yeah.
away, right? So you wouldn't be able to see the people per se, but it was a good business, man. I enjoyed it because I made good money with it, and I also got to include my dad. My mom would go out there, my wife would go out there, to take pictures and all this kind of stuff. And it was a cool business.
How much would you like charge per ad?
So
it was just like one inflatable, and it was just one ad on both sides.
Mhm.
Were they the same ad on both sides?
Yeah, typically, yeah.
Yeah.
But eventually when
they pay for the day, or
they would pay by day, and I would charge, depends. I would charge anywhere from like $600 for the local nightclub because I just needed to fill in some days, to $2,000 to $5,000 a day.
Holy cow!
I'm sure Chase and all the bigger hitter
so
they
the
were
ones
2 to 5
that I would charge, up the ass.
And Ultra too, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. We had all the DJs, all the international DJs that would come around for Ultra. All of them were my clients because from the boat, I evolved to, they'd say, "Hey, Alex, we are interested in doing the boat, but we're also interested in trucks." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got trucks. I got this too." And we did pressure cleaning the logos on the sidewalk. We did everything you can think of. And I've presented advertising campaigns to the biggest DJs in the world. David Guetta, Afrojack, every single one of those people. I've either presented them or done marketing for them.
So what happened to the business?
It was just very fickle, right? Like, I mean, it's event driven. What was difficult, I would try to get like people, like most of your advertising agencies who are the ones that do this type of advertising for your big Fortune 500 brands. They're all based out of New York, right? So think of the Mad Men, right? Up in New York.
Yeah.
And they couldn't conceptualize that Miami is year round, right? Year round beach weather. So they should think about this as a strategy year round. They view it in terms of like, hey, this is a summer marketing campaign. And I would try to convince them like, well, in the summer, it's great. But in the winter, you guys come to Miami.
Yeah.
So doesn't it make sense?
It's
Like,
always,
bring it down here, right? So it was just a hard business to sustain full time. Again, I was a Marine full time. So, in my career, I was moving around, and it was easy to manage remotely, the client interface and all that stuff. For the most part, I never met any of my clients. But it was still just, not enough business to keep it going full time.
And Alex, backtracking a little bit, let's get into like your childhood, like going into what made you who you are today.
Sure.
Let's just start, pick up like maybe around, I don't know, high school or something like that.
Yeah.
Like what made you go into the Marines, and then what kind of influence did your mom and your dad, coming, I mean, I'm assuming they came from Cuba, right?
Yep.
So coming from Cuba and, being immigrants and making a life for you and your brothers or sister, if you have any.
So I'm gonna go back a little bit
even
for
further.
you, only just to say that my parents have such a unique story in that my father was part of Operation Peter Pan, which, if you know your Cuban history, right, that was the mass exodus of the Cuban children that was sponsored by the Catholic Church. He had a very unique opportunity in that his aunt had already came forward. She was already in Miami, and she created a foster home, and he was able to leave and go stay at her house. Whereas most of the kids, they ended up all over the world in orphanages and places where they were, with
This
strangers.
is when Castro took over, right?
Right. When Castro took over. And then my mom's story, as a young girl, she left. They were both very young, came to the United States. They made their living. So I wanted to be a Marine since I was 8 years old.
Wow. Oh, shit.
Yeah, it was something I knew as a little kid. I was in church, and there was a group called the Young Marines, which is like the Boy Scouts of the Marines.
Yeah.
And they were there in their camouflage uniforms at the church, kind of doing like a little display to, really just promote themselves. And I was like, man, I want to do that. and I just became enamored with the Marine Corps lifestyle and everything about it. And I just knew, like, my path as a kid. I was a high school athlete.
What'd you play?
I was a baseball player. Like every Cuban kid.
Except we went soccer. My dad went soccer.
Oh, yeah.
Because my parents our parents went. My mom came here to Miami, but my dad had to go to Spain because there was nobody to claim him here. So they went to Spain, and that's where he found the love for football. And then whenever I'd play, everybody would be like, "Oh yeah, Cuba, what are you doing out here, dude? Go play baseball."
No, I never played soccer. And the funny thing is, my son played a little bit of soccer, but so played baseball. I always saw this funny story, like, And again, I started working at 13, umpiring baseball games, and I've always had a job. I've always just been financially reliant on my damn self. And so as I got through high school, I had a girlfriend who's not my wife, right? So we're high school sweethearts. And I was working.
Oh, you married your high school
Married my high school sweetheart, yeah.
Holy cow.
And I was also the class clown. And the coaches were not fans of my jokes, unfortunately. So that impacted my playing time. And by my senior year, I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's not really working out. So I stopped playing my senior year, and they won the state championship.
Oh my God.
So I missed out on that.
Were you like a pitcher?
No, I was an outfielder. Yeah, a totally replaceable outfielder.
Yeah.
So but it, you look back in hindsight, and you're like, damn, man, like my I'm gonna work my whole life, and I missed out on kind of putting the priority in that. And I don't live with too many regrets, but I do kind of wish I would have focused a little more on
Get
baseball.
that little ring, right? You know that ring would have been nice,
yeah. You I missed out on the distinction of saying, hey, I'm a champion.
Yeah, I'm a champion.
So
you're a champion in my eyes.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. So as a senior does, you start to say, hey, what's next? Because I know something is going to happen, whether it's go off to college or join the military or just go down any kind of real career path. But I was working at a grocery store, right? So it wasn't like I was continuing down the grocery route. And I knew that I was going to be a Marine. I enlisted October 14th of 1999.
Were you 17 or 18?
I had just turned 18. Yeah, I just turned 18. Yeah.
Let me tell you something.
So he wanted
yeah. I was going to actually, you read my mind because I was going to say, I want to know what your mom and your dad said because my mom threw a fucking fit because I told her I'm going to be a Marine because I played soccer. I was shredded. I was fit as thing. So I was like, Mom, I've been talking to the Marine at school. I'm going to be a Marine because I want to travel the world and I feel like this is what I want to do. You know what happened? Te va a morir.
Oh, yeah.
Te va a morir, mijo, no way. Like, crying and all this shit. And I had gone into the office. The next step was to take the test to see where you fit in on the Marine Corps. And, I ended up not following what I wanted to do for my journey of life. I have some regrets on that, but maybe it worked out better. I don't know. But it was during the Iraq War. I graduated 06.
Oh, yeah.
So it would have been like right in the heat of it.
Yep.
So maybe it was a blessing in disguise, or maybe, I just have a little bit of resentment because it was my journey in life. It's all our journeys are yours in particular. You get to choose what you want. And I felt like when my kids get older, I'm not going to tell them, hey, I'm going to give them advice, but I'm never going to push them completely to be like, no.
You joined in 1999.
Yeah.
Which wasn't too far off.
So I graduated in 2000.
Yeah.
So I enlisted, right? Like signed the paperwork while I was still a senior in high school.
What I'm saying is that was before 9/11 happened.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So then like you went through training and then all shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck.
Well, that's it.
I'm going to Iraq now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or it was Afghanistan. Which one was it?
Afghanistan was where the military went first, but then I went to Iraq first, and then I went to Afghanistan. But to your point though, like our parents, we have to believe they want what's best for us,
For sure.
and we naturally believe them, right? I mean, that we do believe them, and so I think for me to answer your question about how did my parents react, well, my parents, of course, were concerned, but they were supportive. They knew that that's something I wanted to do, so they didn't really put any roadblocks in my way. They didn't put like any emotional obstacles in my way either. They were both very proud and very, just excited about my career in the Marine Corps, and I had an incredible career.
That's two separate, different kinds.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
parenting
and so my parents were supportive, and they weren't. We were in peacetime at the time, so of course they weren't super concerned. But I think just generally, like you think about your parents had your best interest in mind, or so they thought, and we believe them. And that's where I think we as the next generation then say, well, how do I not repeat the same mistake or not use it as hey, this was a mistake, but how can I just look at this a different way and react a different way? Because it's kind of like, I've been hearing a lot of people saying, if I want to be a millionaire, my parents are not millionaires. So I shouldn't feel like I'm insulting them by not asking them for financial advice. They had never accomplished that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, Mom, I love you, but you've never done what I'm trying to accomplish. So I'm not coming to you for advice. I'm coming to you for love, for cariño, all that other stuff. But for this specific topic.
¿Y la comida?
Yeah. You have to almost and I think this is mainly a Latin thing, maybe even more so a Cuban thing, but we feel like we dishonor our parents if we don't go to them for everything. But there's some things they're just not qualified to do.
Yeah.
I get to the point, honestly,
stopped
Alex.
doing that.
I get to the point, Alex, where I tell my dad, "You guys are done." I'm not in an insulting way, but you guys are done. I'm 37 years old or 36 years old. I know more than you at this point.
Yeah,
It's done. You guys gave me everything you possibly could, but at this point, I've surpassed you.
Oh yeah.
And I know it's tough for them to hear, but at the same time, it's like you said, you're not a millionaire. That's what I'm aspiring to be. I can't come to you and be like, "Hey, how do I get financial literacy?"
Yeah.
Even though in school they didn't fucking teach you shit.
They didn't teach us anything.
Because
well, the funny thing too, I always say too,
that's
like,
cold.
if
bro.
my
That's what I tell 'em.
my mother-in-law will give me a hard time about my kids or whatever, and I'll say, I live with your kid. so don't be so judgmental because I live with your kid. You know? So.
Is your wife also Cuban?
No, she's actually a very unique mix. She's half Colombian, half Dutch.
Oh, that's
Super
one of
bizarre.
those
Yeah.
very unique ones.
And even more unique is that her mom, the Dutch mom, was raised in the island of Grenada. Which is
really,
a Caribbean country.
so I'm pretty sure she has a pretty unique story too.
Yeah,
with
there's
that.
oh yeah, she's got a really cool story. Yeah.
So then, all right. So now you're enlisted in the military, going through your life here. You are now deployed, and then you decide you want to be an officer, and you take a program, right?
Mm-hmm. So here's the unique story. There is, as a Marine, you go into boot camp, you go into training for whatever your job is going to be. I was an intelligence analyst. So I went to school in Virginia
Jack
Beach.
Ryan?
Yeah, something like that. Well, so the funny thing is that the recruiter tells my dad, "Have you seen the movie The Enemy of the State?" That's kind of what like he's going to be doing. I'm like, "Oh shit, man, let's go. I'm ready." And
That was a great movie too.
yeah,
man. I love
So I'm
that.
like, "Oh man, this is great." It's not like that. And so I went from my training, my first like assignment, because you get stationed somewhere, you're typically there for about three plus years. My first duty station was Hawaii.
Oh, that's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah, so I'm a Miami kid, off to Hawaii, loving life. Well, the reality is I was always gone. Whether in training, I went to Iraq, I went to Afghanistan, I went to all these places. And then at a certain point, I was like, I'm just going to get out, right? I'm done. Did my 4 or 5 years, whatever. I'm going to get out. And then I realized there was an opportunity to actually be stationed in Miami, which is very uncommon. There's not a lot of Marines there.
I didn't even know there was a base in Miami.
It's not like a real base. It's like a headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
So there's actually more federal contractors or federal employees and contractors than actual military personnel. But I was able to finagle myself an assignment to Miami. So now I'm a Miami guy stationed in Miami, which is dangerous, right? Because obviously we follow a different set of rules as Marines. So I gotta like balance being a Miami guy. I gotta balance being, back around all my family and friends and still my military service. And, of course, to make things complex, I'm a guy who's got
and a father too.
And then, all those things started to happen after that. The sequence of that started to happen there. And so then I got to Miami and they said, "Alex, you have two options. You can be part of the and I was single at this time, right? I was single at the time. So my wife and I, we didn't stay together the whole time. We kind of some separation. And then we got back together. Yeah. So I get to Miami. I'm a bachelor. And they say, you have two options. One is you can go be on the Colombia team, which means you're going to go to Bogota for 90 days and then come back for 90 days, just over and over. And I'm like, oh man, that sounds great. and then they said, well, the other alternative I ended up choosing, I said, the counterterrorism team. I said, well, tell me what that's like. He's like, well, you're going to be here. I said, man, I got to go to school. I have to get my education. I said, fuck Bogota. I'm going to school. And I still look back at that. I'm like, man, it probably would have been pretty cool. But who knows? Maybe I would have been married at the
Might
time.
have been walking away with something more than you bargained for.
So I went to school full time, man. I worked from like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. because I worked, by the time I got out, I would run to school. I would arrive at the Miami-Dade College. I would work out. I would run. I would swim, and then I'd go to class all night.
And you'd have to be in your fatigues, right?
No. Once I'm off work and go to school, I'm like a regular person.
Oh.
But I was older. Is the point? I was an older guy who realized, like, hey, it's never too late to get your education done. And for me, especially, I'm taking advantage of the military educational benefits. So I'd go do that every night. I finished my associates, so 2-year degree at Miami-Dade while I was stationed in Miami. So didn't get to enjoy Bogota. I got my schooling done. And then I applied for a program where, thousands of people apply for maybe a few hundred slots to get to go become an officer, which means they'll let you go finish school. So I was selected for that program and I went to Florida State finished my 2 years of school. But again, like I was telling him earlier,
I'm wondering why you didn't go to UM. Why
I know it's a private. It's probably, but does the military program still cover the UM? I mean, because I know.
Well, so the thing is, I had to go to a school that had a naval ROTC program because yes,
I know you were in the Marines.
Yeah, well, because they're the ones that facilitate the program and getting you to officer candidate school and all that kind of stuff. So that's like the one stipulation. But I could have went to Harvard. I don't think I was going to get in, but I could have went to Harvard. Like that was a program. That was a school that was in that program.
And military paid for all of it, right? You didn't have to spend.
I didn't pay any money, man.
So
I
it was
didn't
like
pay
a
any.
scholarship.
No dollar, no books, no nothing.
Nothing.
Wow.
I was a full-time
I mean,
Marine.
you did give years of your life away.
I paid,
for
yeah, I
service.
paid with, I paid for that through
Yeah.
my time and my sacrifice to going to these places. But you know, that was I took advantage of every single benefit that I could get out of the Marines, you know, and they took advantage of my ass too. So we were even. Well, I walked out with an even, you know, with clean bill of health there. And so yeah, man, I got to go to school and then right after that I got a master's degree from FIU, which is in Miami. And then later on,
in what, may I ask?
So I got an MBA. Business administration.
But you had to go. Did you have to go to Florida State physically, or was it?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I lived in Tallahassee.
Oh, you live in Tallahassee.
Oh yeah, I lived in Tallahassee.
So you got your bachelor's there, and then you got your MBA in FIU.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
You went to 3 different schools.
Yeah, and then again. So then, you know, fast forward. So I did some time as an officer, ended up deciding, hey, it's time for me to get out and move on and start up a real job, as they say. And I ended up in Detroit, which was incredible. And I think what I'll share with you about that story is I have a brother that passed away and he lived in Michigan, and him and I had kind of an estranged relationship. Just, you know, we kind of lifestyles were different and didn't see eye to eye on certain things. Well, I had these opportunities post-military to go all over. Most of these roles were like in New York, you know, finance roles in New York. I mean, all these really cool companies, different locations. But I ended up with this healthcare company called DaVita. It was a dialysis company in Detroit. And so of all places, I ended up in Detroit. I got to go be with my brother, kind of patch things up with him. And then only a few months later, he would pass away.
Oh, shit.
But I look at that as like, it's divine intervention, man. So like to your earlier point, there was a reason why you didn't go to the Marines.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason for every step of our life, man, is every step, every hair on our head is counted. And I'm a firm believer of that. That moment for me, I think was, and I've always had a strong faith. I think for me, religion is one of those things where I kind of go up and down on religion, but my faith has never been stronger than what was probably the biggest tragedy that I've ever experienced, right? Which is to lose my brother. And, you know, I look at that and say, man, there still has to be a positive to that. And the positive, of course, was after all the places I've lived and then all the places I could have ended up, I ended up there and we patched things up.
Man, that's a great story. You know, like when it comes to the end of it, and like you said, you know, divine intervention. You never know what nobody can really write their destiny. They can only try to move, you know, pieces. But great story. We got the Alex Delgado story, fucking hitting hard. And when we get back with Happy Hour Holidays, we'll continue the Alex Delgado story.
Let's go.
it's the Tito's, you know. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back with Happy Hour Holidays. Just appreciate everybody tuning in, listening to us. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We got Alex Delgado in the studio today. He's sharing an awesome story. We got the resume, Sean Fabre here. And so, Alex, we left off right when you get to Detroit.
Yeah.
We felt like divine intervention is what you had said.
Your brother had just passed.
Yeah, you had to you got a good chance to make amends, which feels good, you know, because I mean, you know, with family, we're blood, but at the same time, you know, you want to make sure that I feel like
it sucks to have a barrier in between siblings.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like, especially in a Spanish family, I feel like, you know, that when you're not getting along with a sibling, it kind of takes a little bit of a toll.
Especially if it's like a psychotic sister or something like that.
You guys have one of those?
Speaking from experience.
We didn't speak for like, her and I didn't speak for like a year and a half.
Oh, yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. And then her kids would always, where's Uncle Sean? Where's Uncle Sean?
Yeah, you know, I definitely, I mean,
we're speaking now. So
that's good. That's good. And that exists in every family. And I think you go through these ebbs and flows of all that stuff. I think what I took away from that is like, man, you just never know when your day is. My brother passed away when he was 36 years old.
Was it natural cause?
Yeah. I mean, you know,
Heart
just
attack
something like that. You know, it was just one of those scenarios, man, you don't
Damn,
think
I'm
is going to happen
36.
to you. You don't think it's going to happen to you, somebody you know. And man, here today, gone tomorrow, right? Here today, gone tomorrow. So you have to, like, if your relationship, there's friction in it, find a way to come and create some kind of happy medium, because it's not worth it, right?
Yeah.
It ain't worth it to have that animosity linger and just, hold on to those grudges.
You think what is it? Would you put that same thing with friends too, or would you say it's just?
I
with
think
family?
friends you can get rid of pretty easily.
Yeah.
I think friends,
Especially if they're toxic.
if they're good friends and the relationship is worth repairing, yes. I do think one of the things that I stress a lot is there's people in your life you have to do, like I've heard somebody say, I love the term, it's a friend inventory. A friend inventory. At a certain point, you just have to start saying, is this a person that I need in my life? And sometimes, unfortunately, you got to kind of like move on from certain people. And that's not like hey, does this person add value to my life? Like I need something from him.
Yeah.
But is this person bringing me down? Is this person putting me at risk? Is this person, only good to be around to do things that I shouldn't be doing or shouldn't be around, or perhaps is just going to get me in trouble, right? So at a certain point, you do have to be very strategic with who you spend your time with.
I agree with that. I mean, I got rid of a shit ton of friends when we started this company. And I mean, honestly, I don't speak to anybody but like more than this many people, a handful of friends.
Yeah. I think you have to keep your circle close. That's not to say that you don't want to make acquaintances.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
You want to meet
Associates
people.
are fine.
You want to have associates. You want to have a good time. Hey, let's get a beer with this person. Go hang out with that person. Whatever. But like the people that you're going to go to for advice, or that you're going to talk to about your areas where you're struggling, you can't open that up to a committee, right? Like you can't have a ton of people that are involved, because you're going to start to you're going to get bad advice.
Yeah.
You're going to get bad advice. So
I feel like you always need to get advice from people who've either been through it or where you want to be.
yeah.
It's really the two. So then you're in Chicago.
No, Detroit.
Detroit. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry. You're in Detroit. What are you doing in Detroit again?
So I worked for a healthcare company called DaVita, and I was.
Oh, so you're out of the Marines.
I'm out of the Marines. I was still in the reserves. So I did finish up my time there in the reserves, and I was supporting the Marine Corps recruiting district in the Detroit area as a reservist. And now I'm working in healthcare. And of course, people are like, I don't get it. How are you in healthcare? Did you do healthcare stuff in the Marines? I'm like, no, I was a leader. I lead people. I lead process. I'm an action-oriented person who
like
gets results.
Sales team or
What's that?
what
No. I'm general manager over like a bunch of different healthcare clinics.
Oh,
Yeah. So my responsibility again is full P&L, like profit and loss responsibility over these clinics, business development, HR. There's just an element of all the all of general management responsibilities in this role. And then I've done that in different settings throughout the country. And again, well, people say, well, how does this make sense if you were a Marine for so long? Like, because I've had to lead people. I have to, at the end of the day, I'm not a nurse. I'm not a doctor. I'm not any of these things.
but you have an MBA.
I have an MBA, but what I have is the ability to sit down and say, we need to get to this end state. All right. And the way that in which we're trying to get there now is not working. What's a better way? Well, usually it's a very obvious answer, but a lot of times people just don't want to go that way. Maybe it deviates from the status quo, and that's a little bit harder. So my job is to figure out, okay, so how do I create the least amount of friction to get to the end state, or at least get as close to that end state as possible? And that's been my kind of my life's work, really. I mean, just get people to do something they probably know they need to do, but they won't do it unless somebody's holding them accountable to it or showing them the best way to get there.
And you did that for 9 years, right?
I've been doing that. Well, I would say I've been doing that for 25 years, because I had to do that as a Marine
I'm
too.
talking about
Now in terms of just my role
The
now
clinics.
as a healthcare executive, it's been about 9 years that I've been in that type of role.
and you're still in it, right?
Still in it. Oh yeah. Yep. Still. I'm I'm a healthcare executive who's an entrepreneur, who's an author, trying to get into motivational speaking. I'm a runner. I'm a fitness enthusiast. I mean, I got a million different hats.
Yeah, let's talk about because I've authored a book. I have it out on Kindle and Audible.
Nice.
What made you want to do that? What made you want? Because I'm pretty sure this was off air that you were talking about this, right?
Yeah. So
what made you want to do that?
So again, as a Marine, I always had a side hustle. Why? Because I wanted to live a lifestyle that is a little bit different and you know, a little bit more grand than what the Marine Corps lifestyle provides. So I've always wanted to kind of exceed that in that realm. And so as I've progressed through life, I've said, man, I've always got to have something else to help supplement my income, supplement my lifestyle. And at one point I was, again, listening to this guy talk who's really, really bright. And he said, man,
Do you know his name?
Myron Golden. I think he's a Tampa guy. Myron Golden. Yeah, he's a Tampa guy.
He lives in Tampa?
Yeah.
We need to get him on. Myron, if you look at this.
He's got his own platform. He's doing great things. And listening to him talk to me, I was really inspired. And I was in the gym listening to him talk. And he says, you have to find ways to create revenue streams that are creating income in your sleep. Passive income. Picks up a book. He goes, I make about $30,000 off this book. He goes, which is peanuts. This guy's a multimillionaire. He says, but what this book has created is other opportunities, such as speaking engagements, content creation, all these different things that just continue to, you know, drive revenue for him. And I'm like, I'm gonna write a book. And that was it. So I attribute the idea solely to him. And I said, I'm gonna do this book. And so I again started the process of figuring out what does it take to write a book, right? And I also viewed it as a challenge for myself. Like, people, look, it's like a very elementary style self-help book.
Yeah, what's it called?
It's called the 4 Fs. Yeah, so I should say the 4 Fs: seeking self-mastery in faith, family, fitness, and finances. And when I thought about, I'm going to write a book, what should I write about? Like, it just became very natural to me because I enjoy self-help books. And I was like, if somebody applies some intention to these 4 areas, they'll live a good, balanced life, successful life. I believe strongly. So go through that process. And, you know, what I never knew about was obviously the marketing of it and how do you really get this thing off the ground and how do you really promote this thing? But the idea for the book was to help me get to a point where it then turns into speaking opportunities. And so that's where I'm kind of at right now. It's like the book is out, it's on Amazon, you know, all my friends and family have bought it, which is, you know, now that was the peak of the sales, right? And now it's trying to figure out, like, how do we now leverage this book to create content, get out there. And
did you do an Audible for it?
I haven't. I need to.
Yes.
I need to. Yeah. Yeah.
And Audible has a lot of facilitators that will. How long is the book? How many words?
Oh gosh, I don't know exactly how many words, but it's like about 200 pages, maybe 200 a little bit less.
So around like 40,000 words, maybe something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'll charge you around like $600 to do that.
And what is that? So
they'll read it. Yeah, somebody else will read it. I mean, $600 is a small price to pay. My book was 50,000 words. It was a science fiction novel. And I paid $600 and they read the entire thing, provided the audio files in accordance with Audible. And the contractors are actually listed on the acx.com website.
Nice.
And people actually bid on it. So
they bid to be able to record it for you?
Yes. And they'll record a 5-minute sample, 15-minute sample, and send it to you. You listen to them. And whenever you want the one that you like, say okay, then you start negotiating. Then they send a request for an invoice, you pay it. 2 weeks later, you got an audiobook, and then it's
I need to do that.
Yeah, it's cheap, man.
The funny thing is, I thought, I'm like, I should probably read it.
That's what I would think too, man.
I thought the same shit. But then mine's fiction. Mine's science fiction.
I think for him, he definitely should be as motivational on the Facebook.
But you want to sit there and because you wrote the book, you're gonna read your book,
and you'll probably tear it apart.
I mean, you're not a professional reader like these guys are. These guys are voice actors.
Right. Yeah, because I've tried to even look like everybody, right? You try to create a little bit of content at home, and you could hear like the. Mm-hmm. You know, the gasp and the, you know, like, so yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and that's one thing I'll say too. Like the guy, Myron Golden, what he talks about too is like, don't think you have to do everything yourself. Pay people to do it. So look, I've had that book out since September and I'm slipping because I wish I would have thought of that. So thank you for the tip because I'll go home and do that today.
And think about it. Do you listen to books when you're working out?
Not really. No, I like to actually read physical books.
But you said you were working out listening to...
Well, I was listening to like a podcast. Oh. Yeah, he's got like a podcast.
So then all the books that you have read, you've actually bought the physical book.
Well, I stopped buying books and I just go to the library.
Oh, go to the library?
Yeah. I like to have the hard book in my hand.
So like when we started this company, we were reading a lot of books, but we weren't reading the books. We were buying them on Audible and listening to them on the car drives. So, I mean, if you're in a car, say 4 hours a day, and the audiobook is about 16 hours, it's only going to take you 4 days to consume all that knowledge while you're driving.
Yeah.
Because most people, they'll listen to podcasts or they'll listen to, which always listen to podcasts, especially happy hour holidays.
Yeah, that's right. Especially this episode.
But I mean, you don't really have time to read outside of driving. So audiobooks, in my opinion, is the best and most efficient way to consume knowledge.
Depends how you learn.
Yeah, I like to read.
Some people aren't audio.
Even when I'm like on, like, if I have like a big project, I like to print stuff out, pencil it, you know, like really, really see it and touch it. But reading for me is also leisure. So I'm usually reading about 2 books at a time. One will be for like a self-help, true self-help, and then another will be like a notable memoir, like a biography or something like that. Like I like to read about very important people, successful people. I like to hear their stories, right?
What's your favorite one so far?
Gosh, that's a good question. One that
mine's John D. Rockefeller. Then Andrew Carnegie.
Those are good. Yeah. I have not read those. There's a guy named Rich Roll, which as podcasters, you guys should check him out. Rich Roll, he wrote a book called Finding Ultra, and he was a successful swimmer, successful parents, goes off to college, becomes an alcoholic. And then he realizes he's, struggles with addiction, struggles with alcoholism, and he turns his life around and becomes this ultra marathon runner. He did a race that was like a triathlon and all 5 of the islands of Hawaii in 5 days. And I mean, the guy is a total beast. And so his story was pretty incredible. And he's got a really good podcast. I would definitely check his podcast out. Really good stuff. He's got like really good guests on there.
Yeah.
So his book was really good. And just, I mean, every one of these books, you pull something out of it.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing too. Like
one thing, if anything.
One thing. Usually it's one thing per book.
Yep.
It's the one thing that you can pull out of that book. And again, like I read a book recently. It was called, what was it called? How to Invest. Man, I would recommend everybody to read that book.
Who's the author?
Rubenstein, David Rubenstein. And the funny thing is, this is genius. The whole book is the transcript of podcast interviews.
No way.
The best podcast interviews that he's done, depending on what that type of investment is. So for example, he's got a real estate guy, he's got a crypto guy, he's got, every form of investment that you can think of. He took the champion of that and basically transcribed the interview and turned it into a
genius.
book.
That's fucking genius.
And so by reading that book,
so he didn't actually have to write anything.
No, basically, no. It's an amazing book. And again, depending on what your financial literacy level is, it still just opens up a new idea, right? It makes you think of investing differently. And I think that's one of the areas where I don't talk so much about the investing part. So when I talk about, and all the content I create, talk about the 4 Fs, I think I hone in a lot on the fitness piece.
What are the 4 Fs?
Faith, family, fitness, and finances. Okay. And it's in that sequence on purpose, right? You got to get your faith on point first. So God first. That's how I believe. Like I've even gotten to the point where my habit in the morning is I pray the minute I open my eyes, and the first thing I listen to is like a prayer, right? So I don't check my social media, and I could be like, man, I'm waiting for this guy to write back to me, and I will not look at it until I listen to that prayer. And that's a way for me to just be grateful and say, God, I'm going to give you my attention first. And then there's moments where I'm like, man, I want this prayer to be over, man. I want to read that email, but I got to give it to God first, right? And then family, of course, you have to get your family on point. And, you will struggle in the other areas if you can't get your family life right. Fitness, I think, then that's on you, right? Like it's up to you to determine what your fitness levels are going to be and your health and all that stuff. And then the finance piece, what I'm trying to really promote is financial literacy and investing is not exclusive to people who are already financially literate and investing. Anybody can do it. And in this day and age, the technology exists, the apps exist, the literature exists, like to go out and do something. That's really what I'm trying to promote. I'm not trying to promote this bizarre idea. I don't get on here and talk about, these crazy money-making schemes or anything like that. It's like, just do something and find what works for you. Find the advice, find the person who can coach you. Like you just gave me a hell of a tip. Pay somebody to do that. If you don't know how to do something, pay somebody. You can pay somebody $100 an hour to teach you, hey, what should I invest my money in?
Yeah.
So, it's out there. So for all the people that want to see self-improvement, seek self-mastery, like I say, it's out there. the
And
information
they can
out.
find it in the 4Fs.
And they can find it in the 4Fs. Yeah.
Did you use your full name as the author? How can they find it on? Is it on Kindle?
It is.
If
Yes,
it's
it
on-
is on Kindle.
if
Yes,
it's on
yes,
Amazon,
yeah,
it's on Kindle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to think about that because it's not. It's
And
only
can
on.
they order a paperback?
Yep.
Yeah, they can. Also.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's only on Amazon, so you can only get it on Kindle or the Amazon website, hard copy.
Yeah, and it's been published since September
Since
27th.
28th. Yeah, 28th is my
20.
birthday. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it came out just a little after that, but yeah.
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 No, and as the journey goes on, Alex, like you made this another business, the laser hair removal, which
Yeah.
is huge. I mean, especially for us guys over here that look like gorillas, I could probably grow fucking hair all the way around my damn eyes.
Yeah.
But I mean,
already do.
how did you end up getting into the laser hair removal business or the industry?
Yeah. So again, my 9-to-5 professional job has been healthcare and managing healthcare locations all over the country. And so I've obviously seen that that's an extremely lucrative business, but of course I'm not a doctor, right? I'm part of the business side of medicine. And I knew that as I wanted to continue down this entrepreneurial path that I've also matured, right? So I wanted to go down a more viable business. And I realized when I started looking into perhaps purchasing like healthcare practices and trying to roll them up, I was like, that's something that was outside of what I could truly afford on my own.
Like franchises and stuff, like you
Well,
can do
no,
physical
like-
therapy.
like,
or,
You'd be surprised.
doctor, bro.
There
Doctors
are
are expensive.
doctors in any setting that are selling their practices, right? And so what I envisioned was find these practices, roll them up, and now you've got multiple practices rolled under one umbrella. Very expensive, very complicated. And so I said, well, gosh, how can I do something that's similar, but a lot more kind of like something that's within the ballpark for what I can afford. And my wife had a passion for laser hair removal because she had started doing that in Michigan when we lived up there. And she's been I'm not only the president, but I'm a client. Right? She's one of those. And so we said, man, she was so passionate about the device. The laser that we use is called the Alma Soprano. And she's like, this is it. Like this machine is like the golden goose, right?
Well, it's got soprano
it's
in
the
it, so you
gold
know it's the
standard.
motherfucking
The gold
top dog.
standard. I said, all right, well, let's figure this whole thing out.
So did you buy a franchise or just
No, we bought the machine. We started our own business within like a week. We were like, let's go. Like we just freaking moved
But you
forward.
had to also rent a space, I'm assuming.
So we rented a space and
It's in Oldsmar, right?
It's in Oldsmar.
What's it called?
It's called Soft Touch Laser Hair Removal. It's inside of a Salon Lofts, which is right on Tampa Road. And we have our little spot there and we're basically open 6 days a week, mostly by appointment only. And we've done great. We're just about to hit the 1 year mark with the business. Again, she's the face of the company. She's kicking ass. If you see her social media, she's, doing some really, really funny, inspiring things and just really created this awesome network. I'm so proud of her because my wife has always been a very personable person, of course, but a little bit introverted. And this has totally taken her out of her shell. She's networking with other entrepreneurs. She's networking with other business owners, a lot of just female business owners and a lot in the kind of the beauty and the aesthetics industry. And people are coming from all over the place to come see her, so it's really been a neat opportunity to watch her really blossom and grow. And the cool thing is like this business is all about her. Most of the things that we've done in the past has been centered around me and my crazy ideas or whatever. And this is like her baby. So
what would you attribute the majority of her the success for that laser hair removal business?
I think it's her outreach. She's
Is she in like BNI groups and stuff like that, or
no? She's like
you said she's networking.
She's going to a lot of these female
that...
networking events. Not like a BNI. I'm familiar with BNI, but nothing like that. She's just.
Which I don't like BNI, by the way.
No, I mean, I think there's some value to that, but I think at a certain point you kind of you get diminishing returns on that. But she's just meeting people of all walks of life. She's got. She created a partnership with the Bucks cheerleaders.
What?
USF dance team, USF cheerleaders, softball teams. I mean, you name it.
So is she like targeting mainly women?
Oh yeah, basically. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, basically. I mean, if you looked at like the patient or client breakdown is like 99 to 1 women to males.
Really?
Females to males. Yeah.
Really? There's
Even
guys
though we're
out there
like
with the back hair and all that shit. We're in
But
Florida.
so that's where she's smart. So she's now creating almost like this new brand that's just going towards men. Because men
I mean, look
are
how
less
hairy
inclined.
this shit
Yeah,
is.
we need it, but we're like less inclined to do
Yeah, yeah,
self care,
yeah.
and our routines are a little bit differently. But I mean, there are men coming in. I mean, we're shooting content to attract male clients, and we've got male clients coming in all the time.
Now, you
I
mentioned
am
you
one.
used it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've done my back. I've done my neck.
Yeah. So basically, could you do a permanent edge?
Yeah.
So like the way I'm edged up right now,
You
like
could totally-
everything
yeah.
else, and then I never have to get an edge ever again.
Yes.
And how many treatments?
Everybody's different. Okay. Every body part is different.
Think
of
of
course,
how
but
thick your follicles are.
yeah, it's like 6 to 8 treatments typically, but you're going to definitely see results after the first one.
And I'm sure prices vary, but what is the range? It's probably dependent on area, right?
Yeah, depending on area. So anywhere from like 100 to like 600
per session.
per session. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then, there's packages and, stuff like that. But
Now I gotta, and I gotta tell my barber, hey, listen, I don't need a haircut no more.
yeah, no.
Well, maybe a haircut, but not an edge.
Yeah. I mean, there are, like I said, I've done this part of my neck that I haven't shaved I can't even remember when the last time I shaved. And if not, I'm prone to like,
Yeah, I get the rashes too.
the rash
Yeah.
and razor burn and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's the way I am too, man. With the Spanish part of it, that was one thing that I was always self-conscious about. I was like, when I got out of high school, I was like, man, I really want to get the laser hair removal so I don't have to deal with any of the hair. But I think I was self-inflicted because my mom was like, you barely got any hair, but I was bodybuilding, so it's like, oh, I'll shave whatever I have. And then all of a sudden,
You start learning that women actually don't mind hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It's like everything, right? It's like everybody's got their own preferences and stuff like
It's all
that. But
different. It's all different.
I don't think anybody likes back hair.
No.
I can't say that.
No, I can't say any woman goes, damn, I like that guy's back hair.
Yeah.
No, that's 100%. All right, guys, when we get back with Happy Hour Holidays, we'll continue with Alex Delgado, man. Really appreciate him coming on and, sharing his story. We'll be right back. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on Facebook, Instagram, and everything else we got. We appreciate all our fans and all our people out there. We'll be right back. All right, guys, and we're back with Happy Hour Holidays here with Alex Delgado. One of the biggest things of the 4Fs was fitness. And obviously you're a very fit guy, and what got you, obviously the Marine Corps is something that you have to be fit for. There's no ifs about it. You got to be able to be carrying some heavy ass book bags. I know that for sure.
Like 80 pounds or something?
Yeah, it could be pretty heavy. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what got you, what like oriented you from the beginning into fitness?
So I've always been an active kid, right? My whole life I was an active kid. And then of course the Marine Corps demands it of you, right? So that's not something you do for leisure, is demanded of you. It's part of the job description. Is you can't be in this club unless you're into fitness and you maintain a certain level of fitness. And then after getting out of the Marine Corps, of course, I was always a pretty active person, still worked out, maybe ran a little bit here and there, but I really started to take it serious within the last few years, like really, really just being more disciplined about my runs and my workouts, and then also my nutrition, right? Because that's where the most important, especially at my age, it's your nutrition. Now, I still love pizza, I love burgers, I love beer, right? But I gotta be like everything in moderation, right? So that's something that is important to me. And I really, the way I started getting into running all these races that I run was with a big group of Marine buddies of mine that we were all friends, we're all Hispanic, that we were all stationed in Hawaii together. And we said, hey, we're gonna have a reunion, but it's gonna be we're gonna do a race as well. Mm-hmm. And so I did my first half marathon in Nashville with these guys, and I had only once ran any, that length of distance,
which is
13.1 miles. 13. And I was like, you know what? If I can run a half marathon, I'm just going to keep training and I'm going to run a full marathon. And so my first full marathon was the Clearwater Marathon. It was hard as hell, hardest thing I've ever done. And then I've just gotten into running all these different races. And I just finished my third marathon about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was the Coast Guard Marathon. So I've done the Marine Corps Marathon, now the Coast Guard Marathon.
A lot of swimming on that one, huh?
No swimming.
No
it's all
swimming?
running. No, it's all running.
That's an Ironman.
Yeah, you're thinking of an Ironman. But so I'm trying to complete this. It's called the Armed Forces Series Challenge, which is Marine Corps Marathon, Coast Guard Marathon, the Air Force Marathon, which I'm going to run in September. And then there's the Army 10 miler is in Washington, D.C. And then the Space Force 10 miler. If you complete all those, you're like, oh, you did all the military races. So I don't know why the Navy doesn't have one. But.
So you're training through like in different, or what's your training regimen? Like, are you running like 5 miles a day or?
So every day is different, right? I work out probably about 4 to 5 days a week, and I run probably about 3 to 4, maybe sometimes 5 days.
Are you doing that on like the treadmill, or are you actually?
No, I just go out and I run outside in my neighborhood. So cool thing is, and I'll segue into, I'm trying to start a running club by my house. Is the Oldsmar Running Club. I think what is the first step to starting a business is go get the logo done. So I got the logo, right? Got the logo, got the Instagram page, and now I need to find the actual runners. And so trying to figure out ways to make it, a neat way for people to socialize, come and do something healthy. And then of course, you crack a beer after and, just network and mingle, right?
Are you ultimately trying to make money from that?
No, not at all. No. So what I want to do with the Oldsmar Running Club is use this as a way to raise money for my local charity, which is Oldsmar Cares, right? And so I don't have any direct connection to them at all, but I view it as an easy way to say, hey, let's get together. We'll do something fun. We'll do something healthy. And there's some charity involved.
And it would make sense to like maybe partner with, say, a brewery. After you're done.
Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out, different kind of sponsors, partners. We're in conversation with Tampa Bay Brewing Company, which, very early stages, right? There's no real commitment there, but that's something that I envision. So what I tell you about my runs is those give me the time to come up with my best ideas.
Yeah.
And you're just out there, you're by yourself, you're thinking, I pray. I sometimes cry, man. I'll sometimes be out there crying while I'm running, right? Because I think of, the things with my brother or just life in general, man. That's my outlet, right? And so I've got this vision. If you're familiar with the Oldsmar area, right? This is a beautiful trail, and I run that trail every week, right? I'm on there.
Felipe Park?
No, it's just it's called the Oldsmar Trail. And it's where the Microlumen headquarters is. That's a medical tubing company based out of Oldsmar. And so I'm trying to kind of partner with them and their employees, and say it's like a fitness activity, wellness activity for their employees to come out, one night a week, come out, run a couple miles, and then socialize after. And the vision was to try to create something with the Tampa Bay Brewing Company because they're right around the corner. Yeah. So try to figure it all out. Like anything, right? I don't have a ton of hobbies other than running, being a dad, an entrepreneur, an author, all that other stuff, a husband. And I view this as this would be a cool hobby, and I think it could have a good purpose, right? It could have a good mission and help people, and I think just get people out.
So that essentially what you're describing is something that you can organize on meetup.com. Have you heard of meetup.com?
I have. I haven't used it in a long time, but yeah, it sounds like I could probably definitely use it.
So I was out in New Tampa, probably, I live out there, but I was at Peabody's, and I'm shooting pool with a buddy of mine, and all these people come up, and they're all wearing a name tag with their name on it. I'm like, what the fuck is this? They're like, oh yeah, we organized this for people that want to meet up and talk about it. It was I don't know, I think Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. Man. But there was a good 60 people there, and they were just meeting up to talk about Dungeons and Dragons or whatever game it was. I mean, this is a good avenue. I thought that website was dead, but apparently people still use it. It could be a good avenue for you to organize runners in that area. Now, being from Tampa, I know Oldsmar is kind of a place para los viejitos. Okay?
Yeah, it's a little sleepy town.
Yeah, a little sleepy town. Getting fit runners to run. How long is the Oldsmar Trail?
Depends, right? But it's not that long. It just depends where your starting point is. But I envision a 3-mile run.
Oh, that's not bad.
And here's what I'll say, right?
Is that a 2K or?
That's a 5K.
A 5K?
Yeah.
Damn, that's it, huh?
Yeah, it's a short run. I mean, that I think is what a lot of people in this day and age, that's about their max.
Because they'll do a 5K. I don't know if you remember, they had a 5K for the old Gandy Bridge before they tore it down. Or the new bridge it was the Crosstown. Mm-hmm. And they had a 5K run there. When you're entering these competitions, are you trying to place first, or what are you typically placing?
I'm typically trying to place. This is how funny, right? I'm typically trying to place in the top 10% of my age group. So I know I'm not going to the marathon and winning it. That is not happening. And in marathons, I'm not placing even in my age group because that's a hard race. And you have like my age is one of the fastest ages at this point for
What
runners.
is your age? Because you
I'm
haven't
43.
Yeah,
I'm 43. So the 40 to 44, a lot of times those are the winners of the races.
No shit.
That's when these people have reached their peak. Yeah.
So in those marathons, like what's their time looking like?
I mean, they're doing it in like 2 hours, 2 and some change
And
hours.
what are you doing?
I'm doing it like 4 hours.
Holy
4 and some change
fuck,
hours. Yeah,
man.
there's a huge difference. Yeah.
You're telling me like these people are twice as fast.
Yes, 100%. And I'm not even like ashamed of it. I'm not even anywhere in that league. I don't aspire to. Of course, I always want to improve on my run time or anything like that. But for the most part, it's like I'm competing against myself.
Yeah.
You know, I'm competing against myself. Nobody knows me. Nobody, you get to these races and, you might run into people that I ran this race. I saw you last time or whatever. But nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Nobody cares what your fucking runtime is. They go there like we all do, so we can get the picture, get the T-shirt, walk away with a medal, and you get one free beer. At every race, right? So that's what it's all about. I mean, for me, it's a fun atmosphere. Like if you've never been to the Gasparilla races, I've done those now 3 years in a row. Man, it's a party vibe. It's a party vibe. Yeah. So it's really fun. A lot of people. I'm always trying to drag my
out. People are throwing.
No, not that time. The Gasparilla. The Gasparilla race is separate from all that stuff. Yeah.
I was joking.
Yeah. But it's a fun atmosphere. And again, it's so for me, what I'm trying to create in Oldsmar, sleepy viejito Oldsmar, is bring people together. Of course, you're going to run into scenarios where is there ways to promote your business? Like maybe we can promote our laser hair removal. Yeah, sure, of course. Is that the main goal? Nah.
Yeah, well,
It's networking. I mean,
It's networking.
the more
Networking
people
is
you
fun.
know,
It's it'll be interesting to see that. I bet you I'm going to struggle with on the first run. The only person who's be there is my wife, and then maybe on the next time it'll be somebody else, and hopefully it'll grow. But like these running clubs have grown. I mean, and you're seeing, look, Diplo's got one. Noriega, the drink champ himself is, they're doing run clubs.
Really?
And it's drawing people in that wouldn't have done it otherwise. I mean, I took my son to a running club race, not a race, but a run at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers training facility. They brought a football player, one of the football players, I don't remember who it was, but there was easily a few hundred people there.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I mean, I seen them at Hyde Park Cafe. I mean, I saw a whole group of people just finish running and go to either Maloney's, I think, right there on the corner, and they all had a beer afterwards. And you're talking about, I mean, for Tampa Bay Brewing, I mean, the bigger it gets, I mean, that's a lot of good business there.
Did you say the Hard Rock Cafe?
No, I said Hyde Park.
Exactly.
Oh, Hyde Park. I was like,
Hyde Park. Yeah,
running from the casino all the way to
Yeah.
downtown.
So I just view it as like a neat way to connect to the community, to get people out, like I think and this is where it's interesting to try to create like a persona on social media, which is what I'm trying to do to grow my impact and influence on the world while still telling people like, get off your fucking phone, right? But you use that. So there are some advantages and positive, obviously advantages to social media and the phones. Like, man, people are spending so much time on that. They're not getting outside and actually being connected, right? So like we're in a connected world, but we're super disconnected. We're on social media, but we're antisocial. Like I want to use this as a way to like bring people together in person so they can interact. Now, of course, they're going to take pictures, selfies, post on social media, whatever. Yeah. And the way you get the word out is through social media. But I think this is just another way to like try to get people out of the house, man.
And I think one of the biggest things that you said, Alex, is like fitness when it comes to it. I mean, when I'm sitting in the sauna, I get up 4:15 in the morning. I go. Obviously, the biggest problem with me is beer. So I'm not like really on the diet part. I got to get on that. But, I get in the gym 4 times a week and I wake up at 4:15. I sit in the sauna when I get there at 5. And it's a time for me to really brainstorm about, and it's not only about business, it's also a reflection on yourself.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing wrong? It's big, that part of it. And I mean, if you're not out there doing some kind of fitness, I think you're missing out on self-reflection because there isn't really a lot of time, like you said, with your phones. I mean, literally any little time that you have to yourself, you're on your phone. Mm-hmm. And you're not really reflecting on who you are and what you're doing wrong in life and what you're doing right and what you could be doing. And that's another thing that brings me back to the motivational videos is that you see so many different opinions on how somebody should be, and you start analyzing what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And now you're like, okay, well, this is where I can improve. This is my personality traits where I'm seeing, okay, I saw something pointed out there that I am doing that I can do better.
Mhm.
And it's really good. I mean, that's why for fitness, and I played soccer my entire life, and I blew out my knee twice, maybe a little bit of the reason for the weight gain, but I'm not going to make that excuse because I could have done better. But either way, I mean, I still go out there, lift weights. I want to do something active. I want to do something competitive. And that's why I went into golf too. Golf is out there. You're in the middle of nature. You have birds chirping, and it's just a very serene moment for yourself. And I feel like if you're not doing something that's active, even walking around your neighborhood, that time of reflection is huge.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like it improves me as a person every single day.
100%. Yeah. And the noticeable, like if you're having a bad day, you go for a walk, you go for a run, you are going to feel better. You maybe not 100% better, and maybe you didn't solve whatever the issue that was, but you're going to come back with almost like a fresh perspective on it. I love it, man.
I do too. I feel like every time I leave the gym and it's 7:00, I'm like, everybody's still sleeping, doing whatever they're doing or getting ready for work. I'm like, I already accomplished this part of the day. And I feel like a whole new person has grown to start the day.
Yeah.
So it's something that I feel like for all you listeners out there or people watching the podcast is, just do something active, because if you can make it a hobby, it's going to be very impactful on your personal self-growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do anything physical.
You need to, bro.
No, I golf, but I wouldn't consider that too physical. But I mean, being outside is nice. I mean, so I just got a dog and I take it for a run. I don't run. I sit in the golf cart and I hold a leash and let the bitch run.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what's working out? This foot right here. The gas pedal.
It's, and this is the thing too, like there's a million different things that people can do. You got to find what works for you.
Yeah.
I mean, what's crazy? How many people play pickleball?
Oh, I know.
Man, that game is no joke.
Talk about a big game that has, just like
the fastest growing game in
Yeah.
America.
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, you're talking
The
about
loudest growing game in America.
but it's also, a lot of people play fours. You have like each quadrant, but it's not too impactful. Where like tennis, where it's one, it's a lot of running there, but this could be manageable because it's with a wiffle ball, so the ball's not going too far, but at the same time you're moving.
Yeah,
you're getting out there.
I went to it was like the first time I went to this is a new pickleball place in Oldsmar. It's right behind the flea market.
Oh,
It's
man,
like
I love that flea market.
open warehouse.
Nice,
like a they transitioned this warehouse in
racetrack. Oh shit.
Yeah, and it's got like 10 courts inside, super nice. And I'm always been an athletic guy, cocky.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can play pickleball. I played racquetball as a kid. I played wall ball as a kid. I'm gonna show up and let these people know what time it is, right? And I go and I sign up because these people take their scores seriously and their ranking, all this shit. And I don't really know the rules, but I'm like, I'll figure it out. And I show up and I'm like, I signed up to play in the advanced. And I'm like, watch, I'm gonna show these guys the time it is. Man. So you then get paired, like there's people that show up in pairs, so they play together, but then, you might play with people you never met. It's like, so I pair up with this one guy and we lost as fast as you could lose. And they all three looked at me like, get the fuck out of here. Go to the beginners. Like, you ruined our game. I'm like, oh man, sorry. I didn't mean to blow it. But like, I wasn't as good as them.
Yeah.
They were awesome. And so I took my ass over to the beginners and played with the beginners and I whooped all their asses.
So you're right there I'm
in the middle, man. Yeah. I'm in the middle, but I need to figure out the rules. That's the bottom line.
Well, what's the score too?
I don't know.
Is it
I
like
figured
first
out
to
yet.
21?
I don't know. I gotta read or watch a YouTube video or something.
Isn't it just where you stand in a square and you hit it to the other side of the
Yeah,
net?
it ain't rocket science, but it's
there's still strategy.
There's still like a scoring system. And again, these people, they have like there's an app and they upload every match they play. And let's say you and I play against each other and your score is a 4.5 and I'm a 4.5 and I beat you. So I put that in the app and now my rank goes up, and
That's how we do it with golf too.
Yeah,
It's a
sounds
gin.
like
Yeah,
it.
with the gin, every time I'm a pretty I'm into golf. So I mean, every score that I do, I put into my gin.
There you go.
And I have my what my handicap is, and it's big because if you're playing with people and you're like, I could beat your ass, and it's like, all right, how many strokes am I going to get? Because this is my handicap, this is your handicap. But that's my biggest thing. Like after I blew out my knee the second time, I was just like, all right, well, what can I do, Doc? He's like, well, I hope you like playing golf because after you fucked up your knee that bad, he's like, you're going to be doing that. Even that is tough on my leg, but I enjoy it. I just want to be competitive. I want to keep getting, and that's I think the biggest thing we're working out. It's not so much as like, hey, I'm doing it to be fit. I want to be fit, but at the same time, it's just to keep that
competing against yourself.
Yeah, competing against myself, but also to get that confidence because you know what, working out and playing sports and being competitive, that's what keeps your confidence up, and it's good, because it takes it to the bedroom.
Oh yeah. Stay up.
I already saw that one coming.
There's too bad there's no gen for that.
No.
Let me answer my score. 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
1 minute.
The 2-minute caliber.
Do you golf at all or no?
So I'm not much of a golfer,
That's enough.
but I would
That's
like. Yeah, I'm not a golfer. But I would like to get more serious about golf.
Yeah.
I went to Valspar the other day for the
Man,
first
it feels
time.
like everybody in Tampa went to Valspar, and it was one of the best ones too.
First time ever.
What day
Super
did you
fun.
go?
It
Sunday,
was
Saturday?
No, I think it was Saturday. Yeah, it was
Saturday. It must have been packed.
And well, it was
Who did
great.
you follow?
I don't know any of those people.
Yeah.
So I probably was there all day, hanging out, partaking, and I probably saw about 2 minutes worth of golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why, but like we've been the past 4 years, and this year I was just like, man, I don't want to fucking go.
Yeah.
Because you realize it's more walking than watching.
Yeah.
Unless you're strategically placed, which shout out to Victor Hovland for winning. I mean, fuck, man. He shouldn't have won. Just JT, you failed your fans again. You failed your fans again, bro. You always lose.
So what's next for Alex Delgado now? We're talking about the book. We're talking about the businesses that you've created. What's next in your story?
I would say I want to see our small business continue to grow, right? So multiple locations is the end state for me. Continuing to progress in my fitness and continue to run these races. I want to get more intentional with the public speaking, right? And using the book as a way to promote that. And then I really want to take the run club and just kind of see that thing take off.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's a good. And then obviously the motivational speaking, that one we definitely want to see because that's exciting. So for everybody out there, we always like to finish off with final words. What do you have to tell the audience? Somebody who's in between, maybe comfortable with their maybe 9 to 5, and they're really wanting to break free and show their full potential. What do you have to say to these people that are teetering on greatness, but they're just scared to make that first step?
I would say seek a coach. Right? If you were a golfer or aspiring pickleball player like myself, right, and you wanted to get better, go find a coach. And there's no shortage of people right now that can sit down and give you a very tactical plan. I think very often, I might speak and talk about things in general terms, but what people need today is a very specific plan, right?
You have a coach?
I don't have a coach, so I need to take my own advice.
He is the coach. He is the coach.
I mean, I'm seeking opportunities to help mentor and coach people. But you're right, yeah, that's the way to put me on the spot, man. Because I should take my own advice.
Yeah,
right. I need a coach if I want to take myself to the next level. But that's what I would start with, right? Because I feel like I've paved a pretty decent trail on my own. But yeah, I might have plateaued too, right? It's time for me to now take my own self to the next level. So. That was good.
I didn't mean to put you.
No, but you're right though. You're right. So don't edit that out because you're right. Take your own fucking advice. But I think for me, I'm very decisive. Sometimes though, it's a decision that's been brewing for a long time, and now I needed some certain things to happen in order to take that next step. I think a lot of people stay stuck because they think they need to go from here to here, and the reality is that you just need to get to here. And if you need to know how to get there, a coach is a good way to help you get to that spot, right? So I would say it's not a lot of money, right? A lot of times, when people say, oh, you spent all this money on this, that, or the other, I always go back to drinking. How much money did you waste on alcohol this month, right? I bet you one round of drinks, depending on where you go, right, is enough to get your foot in the door with that coach and get that
100%.
process, get that conversation started. So a coach is where I would start.
Yeah. And Alex, how can people find you? Like, I know you started doing social media. What's your social media handle? What's the laser hair removal? What is that handle? Let's, I want to get all your businesses out there so
And
people can
websites.
contact and
Sure.
websites
Yeah,
or
so,
anything.
My Instagram for all my fitness content and the coaching content is at Alex R. Delgado. That's Delgado. The Oldsmar Running Club is at Oldsmar Running Club.
Oh, shit.
Very,
You already
very
said
new.
that.
Oh, yeah, we got that. And then for the laser hair removal, it's at soft. This is a long one, so make sure I say this right. It's at Soft Touch Laser Hair Removal.
That's fantastic.
So pretty simple. Yeah.
And hair removal has a website, right?
Correct. SoftTouchLaserHairRemoval.com.
And they can book directly through the website.
Book through the website. You can book through Instagram.
Pay on the website.
You can pay on the website. Yep. We take cash. We take Bitcoin. We take whatever you want. We'll take whatever. But you can find me. The book is available on Amazon. So go check it out. And
What's the name of the book? Just so
the 4 F's: Seeking Self-Mastery in Faith, Family, Fitness, and Finances.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alex, for coming in and for Happy Hour Holidays and
Yeah,
sharing your
definitely.
story and motivating everybody out there as well. You can do anything you want as long as you got a good coach and you got the want to.
Yes.
If you don't have the want to, get up off your ass
that, the
and
want
find
to.
it.
Let's go.
That's a good
So that's the
one.
biggest thing, man. But, all the audience out there, man, really appreciate everybody tuning in to Happy Hour Holidays. We're going to continue to bring great guests like Alex Delgado here that are really shaping our industry and also shaping the way we think about life and how we want to continue to do self-growth to get better. So thank you guys out there and, keep tuning in. We're going to keep bringing that great content. Peace out, man.
Let's go.